today.
Hello.
Welcome to On the Move with Nan and Cam and Carrie. We've got a full house today. As you can see, we're three screening it. The sports backers air conditioning is broken and it's supposed to be 90 degrees. So we decided you don't want to see us ultra sweaty. We'll
No.
save that for when people see us at MTT potentially,
Yeah.
since we have Carrie today. So Carrie, thanks for joining us. It's so nice to have you and to be able to see you. And we know that MTT is starting soon, but first, you were busy this weekend.
I was busy this weekend. I joined one of the Kids on the Move teams this weekend, fundraising for Kids on the Move, and we ran Ragnar, which is a 8-person relay team that runs, I believe it's like 120 miles in total for the team. So yeah.
How many did you run? Did you end up
I
running
ended
yourself?
up only running my 3, and I say that it was rock, paper, scissors between Ed and I doing the extra leg, the night leg that one of our teammates didn't want to run for safety reasons. And he either won or lost. I'm not sure how you might consider that, but yeah.
How many people were on the Kids on the Move team?
So we had 8 on our team, but there were 4 charity teams. So, and each one of them were 8 people. The other 3 teams were, I guess, if you will, created by We Off the Couch. So they had a co-ed team, they had a women's team, and they had a men's team. So they were both representing as well as supporting quite significantly this weekend.
Was this the first time that you had done a Ragnar? I'm guessing no.
No, it is not. It is the second time I've done, actually the second time I've done a Ragnar. It's the third time I've been signed up for one. I got injured the week right before one of them. But it's not a format that, I don't want to say I don't like. It's just a format that is interesting to me and doesn't play into my training sweet spot is probably the best way to put it. But it's fun. It's absolutely
I'm scared of
fun.
It doesn't play into my sweet spot terribly either, but yeah. Jackie always talks about how much fun they always have out there, though, and I know it's a huge fundraiser for Kids on the Move, so it's definitely, and I saw everybody's pictures this weekend, definitely felt a little FOMO.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. I will say that, funny you should say that FOMO, because I think every year I feel that, and then I go out there and I do it and I realize that waking up in the middle of the night to go run might be outside of my age demographics at this point. Sleep is very valuable to me, but it is fun. And, unlike what you just said, I like running trails at night, so that is not a big deal. And this weekend we were gifted with some gorgeous weather out there, so it was a really fun time. Had by all, I believe.
What do you love about ultra events like this, like ultra running events? Because I've heard that you do them quite often. So
that's a good question. I would say that I don't find myself to be very fast, but you put me out there and I can go and go and go and go and go again. So I think that that's it. But also the camaraderie in ultra running is different than, I would say, any kind of road running. And not all ultra running is trail running, but a good amount of it is. So I think it's the camaraderie, it's the support of being out there and everybody suffering through it together, having that common denominator that makes you keep going back. And it's always a challenge. With any distance, you never know what you're going to get, but you add on more miles and the equation changes throughout the event.
Nice.
Yeah, I had to ask that question because of me, someone who is like, what the heck? I would never do something. I'm always interested to know like why, how it appeals to other people that like aren't used to doing it. So, and that makes a lot of sense because that aspect, I guess I've never really looked at it. I've always looked at it as just the miles, and I'm like, that is so many. But then if you're looking at it as like a team aspect and you're like, everybody's so much more supportive when y'all are all going through something at the same time, then that makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense.
And Ragnar definitely plays into that. I mean, there's that support within your team, but even the way that that course is set up, you run through camp on, or all camps, because they kind of call it two camps, on one of the loops. And I was very fortunate that I ran that loop as my last loop. So it was Saturday morning. And while there were plenty of people packing up already to go, to leave because they had started much earlier and or were much faster, the cheering, is like they knew what I was doing and I knew what they were doing, and so it was definitely a lot of fun.
Cameron recently trained for her first, she had to work it, but for her first 10K. So we were getting to her and she killed it. She ran her full 6. So she was just, she was out there. But we both identify we are not fast runners either. So I didn't
Not
ever
even
think about that either being like a big reason to kind of get into ultra. But like, I'm not a fast runner, but it takes a lot for me to quit at the same time. So
Right.
could definitely understand that aspect. So kind of launching into MTT, it is top of mind, I'm sure for you especially, it is top of mind around our office. We've got some people on staff that have already signed up that are excited about it. Definitely in my friend group, I feel like I've got people that are, getting ready. They always call it summer camp. So they're getting ready to go back to summer camp. Just tell us a little bit of background. When did you first get started with MTT?
I'm going to tell you a little secret. I'm glad you sent that question before because I still don't know the answer. But I started, I think, 3 years into the program, 3 or 4 years into the program. We are in I believe our 23rd year. I have not run consistently through. I had a gap, call it my gap year. I had a few years of gap in my my coaching with MTT, mainly because one of our big things with our coaches is that we ask them to really commit their time to the support of others while you're out there running, which is fantastic, and you're getting your miles. It may not be exactly your training day every day. And I had just reached a point where I was doing something a little bit different. I was in the multi-sport world, and my events were coming up sort of mid MTT, and I was having a hard time really being motivated when I came back, having done my event, to jump on board and run 320s, or, so it was just a little bit more challenging, and I didn't feel like that I was giving participants the best I could give them, and stepped away for a couple of years. And then, like everything else, sports backers and MTT, it just sort of slowly pulls you back in. And so I guess I've been back 8 or 9 years now. Before Don retired, if you will, he asked me to come back to support Sunday. And I did that for several years. And then when he officially stepped away, Kevin, Jake, and I took over as head coaches and have sort of morphed into, Kevin is still our technical coach. All the administration is me.
And I'm sure most people are familiar with MTT that are listening to this, but if there's somebody that isn't, how would you describe MTT?
So depending on the year, it's either a 23 or 24 week training program that is designed to prepare you for a marathon. We have 2 basic training programs, what we call a 500 and a 700, and those roughly equate to the number of miles that you will run if you run every single training run on the schedule for the 23 or 24 weeks. And it's really designed to, I want to say it's a little bit of a one size fits all, in that we have a very large group that the schedule fits, but because of the people that participate, it isn't so much a one size fits all. Because of the participants and the coaches and what everybody's training for, it really morphs. We may be all following the same general schedule, but it morphs into what participants need a lot of times. I don't want to really call it a couch to marathon program, but we do have people that are couch to marathon, but we also have some very experienced runners running our program as well.
Yeah, I actually went out to MTT last year. I went out to one of the visits, and it was just really cool, like seeing everybody there, because one, it's early in the morning and I'm not an early morning person, but I'm like,
Neither of us
wow,
are.
neither of us are. And I'm like, wow, everybody's out here like supporting each other. You have the SAG stations, and the coaches there, like the volunteers there, are awesome. And then in November was my first time being at the marathon. And so to witness that was really cool. But then I was at the Shamrock Expo, and I was talking to Candace and Nakia about like our coaches and how great they are. And they had mentioned that the way that our coaches coach during a marathon is not normal. And I was like, what? I was like, that's not normal. And they were like, no, like I've never seen any other marathon do that before. And I was like, that's really cool, because the coaches that are out on course are not running the marathon for them. Like they're not. I saw Chris Mason pass me like 7 times in the same spot last year, and I was like, oh, he's going back to like get people and run with them, and then going back to get more people and run with them. So he's probably getting in 2 marathons while everybody's getting in their one.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
what's
I
your
think
watch
it's
day at the end of race day normally, Carrie? What's the most
right.
miles that you've logged at the Richmond Marathon?
So I have definitely done an ultra or so at the Richmond Marathon. I will say, having taken over the head coach role, I run significantly less because my job becomes organizing, getting coaches on course. But yeah, I would say that most of our coaches are at the marathon distance by the end of the day, but that's also in small little segments of the course. It's they're not running the course; they're running miles and miles and miles across, back and forth across the Lee Bridge or Brook Road, places that we really feel like are either places that our runners generally need pacing. So from start to about mile 4.5, 5, where the excitement takes over, and everyone typically runs too fast. So our coaches are out there to sort of pull folks back. And then we organize volunteers to drive them from that location to multiple other locations on course. Forest Hill, we go across the Nickel Bridge to Forest Hill and drop some coaches.
Because that's tough.
Yeah, that's right around the halfway mark. Mm-hmm. And while there are a lot of people cheering over there, it kind of is where your mind starts playing tricks on you, because you're halfway there, and your mind can either go, I'm halfway there, or your mind can go, I'm only halfway there. And those are two
another half.
very different things. And then the Lee Bridge has historically been a challenge. When you have a day that you don't have a headwind on the Lee Bridge, you have had a successful run. And then Main Street is a lot of fun, but it's also a false flat. So you think you're running flat, and you're not. You're on a slight grade, and that can play some mental games on you. Out by the stadium is a little harder for people to get to or figure out how to get to. It's actually pretty easy to get to, but if you don't know Richmond, it can be a bit of a challenge, and that's also 18. So another one of those sort of mile markers, milestones, if you will, taking you up to Pope. Pope is always a party. That neighborhood does an amazing job supporting absolutely everyone. And then Brook Road, it can be great, and it can also be quiet. And then you run around onto Lombardi to Grace, and Grace is always a party. Doesn't matter where on the course you are, whether you're super fast or super slow. Grace, you gotta love Grace. It just doesn't end on race day for some reason. But yeah, we try to cover the course, and I do think that our coaches, even though I didn't cover that in what MTT is, I think several years ago we decided that not decided, but came to the real realization as far as how our information was sourced, if you will, and available to participants, that it didn't matter what information that was available to anyone who wanted to get it, because the real bread and butter of our program is our coaches. I'm very thankful and humbled by the people who are willing to give up the amount of time that they give up of their lives and their families to volunteer from MTT to work with me. They often thank me, and quite frankly, I administer the program. But as soon as summer camp starts, I really have very little to do with what makes the magic. It's the coaches.
We've talked about that a few times, about how like being on MTT or coaching MTT is like a part-time job. Like, it's not for the week. It's not like, once you're doing that, that is it. Like, that's what you got going on for the next few months. So
Yep.
I applaud the people that take part in it and that coach it, because that's a lot.
It is a lot. And I sometimes think that people lose sight that we're all volunteering.
For sure.
And not in necessarily a bad way. I think that that's good, that we are so dedicated, and it looks like this is what we do for a living. So that really shows the commitment of our coaches to the program and to volunteering and to the participants, quite frankly.
What do you think is, like, I guess you said it and we both kind of said it, but what do you think is the secret sauce to MTT and why people want to keep coming back and why it works so well?
So I think it is several things. Coach is absolutely number one. And one of the things that I really didn't describe in what MTT is registration usually runs up to just shy of 1,200 people. And that's divided between Saturday and Sunday. And that will drop because a lot of people will sign up for MTT because they want to start summer camp early. And they'll migrate to the half, or life gets in the way of training, if you will, or training gets in the way of life. I'm not sure. It depends on who you are there. So, we'll drop down to about 900 participants. But in that, we're divided into, I believe this year we're going to be 14 sub-teams, 2 time slots early. For you guys, it would be insane. But for the average person, early is, for most of the season, we start at 6:30. And late, we start at 7. And then Sunday, we only have 1 time slot, and that is the insanely early 6:30. Sunday has 3 teams, and the remainder are on Saturday. And those are then subsequently broken by training schedule, which I mentioned earlier, 700 or 500, and paces. Ideally, that would be race pace. We're still trying, after 23 years, to reel people in, because they go out and run race pace on day 1 and hold it the whole way, but that's a whole other story. But those sub-teams are really the other piece of the magic. They are families, I would say, within MTT. Move from their family. If they've found their home, regardless of what their pace is, they will stay there because that's where their running friends are. That's where sometimes their husbands and wives, before and after MTT. We've had that happen too.
It's a separate podcast.
That's a whole other podcast. So and those, our coaches, while we do have a little bit of turnover, I'm not going to deny that, and you would expect that with the commitment that we're asking, are pretty consistent. And if the coaches, even when the coaches change, I would say the dynamics of the teams typically stay the same, although they're all very unique to themselves. So that's the other thing. Some people will move around. Some people will take the team assignment and stick with it. But I'm always encouraging people that if it doesn't feel like the right fit for you, there's another home. But it really is the camaraderie, that feel of family, that support, that the mix of returning participants give and the new people bring. You really can't beat it. And I really think, Cam, you said it earlier, that Candace and Nakia said that they really haven't seen this anywhere else. There are other training teams in this country, but I don't think that any of them do training teams like we do our training teams. Not all of that's perfect, but I would say that our training team is unique and different, and it has to do with the coaches and the commitment and what we put out on race day, coupled with what the participants bring, because our participants love the program, and they are our marketing team, for a lack of a better way to put it. You can't beat it.
Yeah, even after I've only done one marathon, and many years ago, and when I did it, it was with MTT. It was not, I already worked at Sports Backers, so I couldn't run Richmond. But it picked a race that timed up with my training. And I think a huge thing, like even with friends that I've had that have trained and have like trained themselves and then later done MTT or done MTT and then chosen to train themselves. Like in my mind, it's just like it's as close to a foolproof marathon training experience as you can get. Like obviously there's still, like you said, life can get in the way, injury can happen,
Right.
all of that can still happen. But I think particularly if it's your first race, but even after that, like I think it's just something that if you're somebody who thinks life is going to get in the way, especially, this is a great way, because I know like if it's left up to me and I'm planning a 15-mile run for myself and it's like, where am I going to stop for water? How am I going to make sure that where I'm going is safe, particularly in the summertime when it's really hot. So you've got to run really early in the morning, and, you know, running by yourself is definitely not as safe as just running with a giant group of people. And I think the guesswork being taken out of it, and then also knowing that people are waiting for you, having that camaraderie, that you're, you know, maybe letting somebody down if you don't show up, all of that is like really added into it. And so I think like it's going to make training for a marathon as fun as training for a marathon can be. And it's cool.
Depends on who you are, Nan.
What'd you say?
For some of us, it is fun.
No, I know it is fun. It depends on who you are. I'm a steadfast, multi-year, every year HMTT participant, and I've been getting a lot of pressure this year. Most of my girl running squad has gone over for MTT this year, and they said one has said that they will switch back to HMTT. I'm toying with it. They're signed up for 700. I would have to probably sign up for 500 just with life. Probably my husband will do MTT this year, so he's excited about that, and he's doing it with some friends. But I feel like it's and then also, like you said, once most of those people get in there, they are in there for multi-seasons at least.
Yeah.
Which is wild. Like, I don't like, there's, with all the different activity options that we have now in Richmond and ways to stay active, to have that type of like turnaround and people coming back year after year is really cool and speaks a ton to you and the coaches.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's really the coaches.
Yeah.
But yeah. And the SAGs.
Yes, the
because
SAGs. I'm a SAG lover forever. The SAGs. You need, when we run HMTT, we say you got to stop and pay respect to the SAGs. You have to stop, have a couple glasses of your water, talk a little.
Exactly.
Thank them.
There's not much that you can beat with showing up on a Saturday or Sunday morning and needing your route, but outside of that, not having to think about a single other thing other than making sure you have clothes on and going to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And that's about it. All the rest of it is you're going.
Oh yeah. No, it's like no thinking. So, I mean, as long as you get there on time, you're good to go. Yeah. What advice do you have for somebody who this might be like their first time and they're considering joining MTT, but they're a little bit nervous? Because, I mean, it can be intimidating also to know that there's that many return people and thinking that you're going to be like one of the only first timers there, which is not true. But what's your advice?
Yeah, certainly not the case. There's no better time than the present. Sign up. We'll welcome you. We'll find you your family. And, like you said, Nan, there's just no other way to do it, quite frankly. If you're in Richmond, matter of fact, I have a participant that has reached out that lives in Fredericksburg, and she's like, I'm not sure whether I want to do virtual or if I want to do in person. I think I can make in person. I was like, get down here, because the experience, while the virtual coach does an amazing job, I would say that showing up, running Richmond, being on the course, there's only a few little sections of the Richmond Marathon course that we won't run throughout the training program, and that's just because they're not safe without having a closed course, which, Sports Backers has a lot of pool, but that might be a little bit outside of our realm. on 2 days having Carrie Street closed. There's just, it's an invaluable experience. You're ready for the course. If you choose not to do Richmond and there's something else that you've registered for, we make it work. And I can guarantee you that somebody else is either doing that same race, so you'll have somebody to train with, or there's a race that weekend that you've chosen, because in the fall races are they're there. There's a lot of them. And so there's always an availability to race. So sign up. Just do it.
I agree.
Sorry, that tagline.
That's fine. We can adopt it. We can take it for this. I think that's okay.
It's fine.
I noted it. Right?
That's right.
That's like putting a little footnote. Citation.
Not by us.
Right.
Exactly.
It's okay. We're always telling people to go to Target on here. So I was like, they might well just sponsor us because I talk about them all the time. And I guess, so our last question before we do our this and that's would be, what is your favorite part of weekend training, morning training?
What is my favorite part about weekend training? Opening the bathrooms. Yeah. I say that because I have never been more needed and
You're
wanted
popular, yeah.
than when I show up to open the bathrooms. No, I think that, Cam, you said it, just seeing everybody there. Well, maybe not, nice way to put this. We are working very hard towards our diversity to look as diverse as our paces, but to see the people that show up to participate. It doesn't matter size, shape, color, speed. Everybody's there for a common goal, and everybody supports everyone, and you really just can't beat that. It's really is special. And I would say that each week builds towards the culmination of race day. And while I'm not a parent of children, I don't know that I could be any more or feel the pride that I feel any other way than the morning of the Richmond Marathon.
That's a great answer.
I feel like that always helps. Yeah. No, what a great answer. I feel like that always helps. Like, if you don't have your own kids, there's always something that you're like, I am so proud of these people.
Yeah.
This group of people are like this. Mine is my Kids on the Move Club. I'm always calling them. Nan always calls them my kids.
Yeah. My kid.
My 12 kids.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's like your little, like, you're proud of those people because like you have seen the time since June to November that they've put into it.
Yep.
And like, like, all right, here it is. Like, this is your day.
That's right.
I think also when we were talking about coaches, I was just thinking about, I think too, if you think that you're going to be like a new person at MTT and you're not going to know somebody, you're going to know somebody. And also, if you're involved in the Richmond running community in any capacity, you have seen or talked to a training team coach probably, because I just like, I can't believe I was even HMTT, which they have like a ton of the same coaches come back like MTT does. And I only go to one run club, Final Gravity Run Club, and two of my coaches were there. And I was like, wow. did not know that. And I feel like that happens everywhere. Like these are people who just love our community. And when you said like the support, I feel like we've also talked about it so much after the 10K, but I think in Richmond, and we're so lucky with the running community here because there's so many different outlets where you just get to see it in action and sit back and think like, how many times in normal life do this many people get together to like support one another and support people doing something that's really tough, but really rewarding. So I think it's just MTT's the best. Everybody needs to sign up.
I couldn't agree more.
Sign up, everybody.
So when is the first day of training?
Oh, June 1st and 2nd?
Yep.
Is that the first weekend of June? That's what makes us 24 weeks this year. There was a question about making it the second week, and in all actuality, everybody would show up the first week of June, even if we weren't there. So it just makes sense for the schedule to start there and for us to be there too. So yeah, first weekend of June. So right around the corner as we skid into May now.
Yeah, I know.
Are you doing your first training run in Colorado? Me and Nan are going to be on a work trip in Colorado.
Yeah, your MTT. If I get convinced, I'll go on a run with you in Colorado. That's an easy yes. Yeah,
I didn't say that. I said, are you?
I'm going to make you go with me. We'll go on a run walk. It'll be great.
How far is the first training run?
It depends on what schedule you're on.
You're right.
We start with 5 miles and 7 miles, and all of our participants should, if they're registered currently, should have received an email that has a sort of 7-week pre-planned schedule in it that should help you get going.
Love that.
And then folks that register now, when they receive their registration confirmation email, it will also have a 7-week schedule in it, which we're a little closer than 7 weeks now, but it's a 7-week window that we've provided a schedule that will work you up to that starting point.
And I know that if you just ran the 10K last weekend, then you're like right on track.
True.
2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Just keep it up.
Which is 100% true. Matter of fact, that I might be telling on myself, but that may be where that schedule that is in that email comes from.
I like it. No, we've been a couple of us, the girlfriends at work that are going to do MTT, which one is Kristen. She's a coach all the time, or has been a coach many years and is always doing MTT anyway. And Catherine normally does it too, but Allison signed up for the first time this year. So they're all going to do it, and we all run together at least once a week at the office. And so we're going to increase from our normal 3. We're going to keep going up a little bit more as they get ready for the first day of training. So by proxy, I'll be getting more miles in. So maybe I'll be out there.
Yeah. It sounds like that, just like I always say, it wasn't your idea, it was someone else's. You'll be there. Yeah. That's how it happens. It's nobody's original idea. It's somebody else said, hey, let's sign up.
Yeah, no, it's the best form of peer pressure.
Yeah.
All right, so we've got some this or that's, which are just like super fun, quick questions. So I'll go first. We're coming up with these on the fly right now too, which is not a normal Nan and Cam. Normally we're together and we get to talk a little bit more through everything. But this morning with that AC really had us separated.
I like cool.
Yes.
Is that one of them? I'm sorry. If you have 80
that's
degrees, will you stay home? Yes, I will stay home.
My first one is just thinking, because this is a huge thing that really motivates me when I do a training team. Post like a long run training team Saturday or Sunday. Are you getting excited about like that big stack of pancakes somewhere right after, or are you saving it up and like enjoying a burger at lunch?
So I eat more food than the average human probably eats. So I'm excited any time for food. It doesn't matter.
Hungry.
Correct answer.
Yep, it doesn't matter.
Us.
Yeah, I like food, and I like sugar a little more than I should. It may be why I run ultras too. I mean, it's not just because I'm slow. It's because
as ultra, you can eat sugar on course constantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right up until your teeth about rot out of your head, and then you want something else. But yeah, there's that too.
I was about to say, it seems to be a common thing because Kristen's the same way. Like, she loves a candy.
She's on ice cream now.
I'm like, if you're gonna run a marathon, yeah, she's on ice cream right now. But I'm like, if you're running that much, like, who cares what you're eating?
So, just real quick, it was a meme, I think, that said, why are you rewarding yourself like you're your pet? With like, and I'm like, I'm good with that.
Fine.
I'm all right.
Little treat.
Exactly.
Yeah, we love little treats around here.
Yeah.
I heard that you have pets, that you have a dog. My question for you is, would you rather take your dog on a trail long run, or a street long run?
Oh, absolutely trail. Grady would prefer trail too. And when Laszlo was still alive, he 100% preferred trails.
Always trails.
Yeah. Well, you got to think too, it's their little paths on the road. Yeah. So 100% trail. I like both though. I'm not.
But if you're bringing the dog with you, you're like, all right, we're going to.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I don't typically bring my dog on a road run, partially because I don't like to be yanked backwards to smell everything. And we smell very different things. You know, I'm looking for the breakfast being prepared, and he's looking for all the text and emails that have been left behind by other dogs.
Right.
Yeah.
I was thinking trails might have better smells. We took our dog, just walked around the loop around Belle Isle yesterday just because it was so nice outside. Us and a quarter of the population of Richmond, I think, did that
Sure.
since it was like the first hot day.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I was like that. I mean, the smells were just hitting for her. Like those trail smells were just wow. I was getting pulled left and right.
Yeah, I would admit why I say trails, but that would also say that I maybe break a leash law or two. But that's a whole nother story.
Well, back to kind of like the ultra thought. I know like a lot of times MTT can be running in different types of weather. I mean, we're obviously canceling if it's unsafe or inclement weather. But also, you know, your race day might also have inclement weather and that's not getting canceled. So going outside the MTT season though, if you have to pick between running in like maybe a little bit heavier rain or snow, which one are you going with?
The snow.
Okay. See, people that like snow love a snow run.
Yeah, snow. And, you know, I think part of it is because we don't see that much snow here. So it's a little different. And snow doesn't tend to get you quite as wet, quite as fast.
Okay.
Whereas heavy rain is heavy rain. I also have a really hard time getting myself motivated to start in the rain.
Yes.
I don't dislike a rain run, but it needs to start about 2 minutes after I start, and then I'm good. Snow I can do.
Yeah.
Like, hold that thought, Rain.
Yeah,
I need to start.
Just give me a hot minute, get out there, you know.
I'm the same way
Me too.
now.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. If it starts raining while I'm out there, I'm like, hey,
I
I'm
agree.
already out here.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you need to go and it's already raining.
Yeah, sleep. I can sleep through an early morning rainy run in a heartbeat and feel very little guilt for it.
Well, that's also because rain is the best sleep soundtrack. So then you're like, well, I gotta enjoy this.
Yeah, do that.
Well, thanks so much for coming on and talking with us. This was great.
Absolutely.
And I hope you have the best MTT season. I'm sure you will. And I know how many people are excited about it and excited to do their first MTT or their 23rd MTT and just can't wait.
Absolutely. And Cam, you need to register.
I was getting ready to relay the information that everybody else needs to register before the price hike in May. May 18th is when the price is going up for MTT. Nan and everybody else. I did my training team this year.
Well, you know, there's nothing. Growth is a wonderful thing.
You're right.
Maybe if we don't do MTT, maybe we'll pop up to volunteer to SAG Stop sometime. They always end up asking at some point for other volunteers since we got to let SAG have vacations and whatnot. So maybe we'll pop up and just party.
Yeah, I live very close to the one off River Road where the Starbucks is.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a great one.
Yeah.
So, and I happen to know who does all the routes, and we can make that happen.
Ooh.
Yeah. Juan was at that one last year when I went, and I was like, hey, Juan.
That's a way to wake up. Juan's great.
Yes, 100%.
All right. Well, everybody.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for inviting me. And this has been a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing everybody out there in YouTube land on MTT on June 1st and 2nd. And
sounds great. Thanks, Carrie. Register everybody, sportsbikers.org.
Thanks,
guys.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.